Married for 10 years, my CEO husband, Daniel, once again had a last-minute business trip, canceling his promise to spend Memorial Weekend with me this year. But then I received a text message from the one he yearned for, showing a family outing, along with a photo of my husband smiling and playing with a child. Grace, if I'm not mistaken, he said he had a business trip again, didn't he? How many years has it been? It's laughable that you still fall for that excuse. Guess where he's taking me this time? Looking at the plane ticket in the corner of the photo, which clearly showed Arctic, I typed a reply and sent it. Going to hell has nothing to do with me. Shortly after, my husband's accusatory call came through. Victoria was just sharing her life with you. Are you so petty that you have to snap at her for that? Apologize to Victoria immediately. I'll make time to take you on a trip when I get back from my business trip. Listening to him make another promise, I gave a perfunctory reply and hung up the phone. But what he didn't know was that I was already aware he had a pair of twins elsewhere. 3 days later, my divorce petition would be finalized. It was time for this marriage full of lies to end. I looked at the dozens of accusatory calls, all from my husband, Daniel. All I did was snap at Victoria, the one he yearned for, and he immediately jumped to her defense, practically wanting me to beg for forgiveness. Anyone who didn't know would think Victoria was his wife. After the screen went dark again, perhaps their patience had run out, as the urgent ringing didn't resume. Instead, a few text messages popped up. They were from Daniel. Grace, apologize to Victoria right now. I promise I'll take you on a vacation when I get back. Haven't you always wanted to see the Northern? We'll go to Arctic to see them. It immediately occurred to me that he was also going to Arctic this time. I couldn't help but sneer. Did he have to take Victoria to every place I wanted to go first? I didn't want to bother. Just as I was about to turn off my cell phone, another message from Victoria popped up. It was a family photo. Without even zooming in, I could tell that familiar figure was my husband. Grace, I truly didn't expect that you'd be able to tolerate your husband having another family outside, and for so many years. How could you bear it? You must have been a doormat in your past life. Given your patience all these years, I'll tell you one more thing, about Daniel's hospitalization abroad 3 years ago. He said he was diagnosed with infertility and needed to seek treatment abroad, but that was actually a lie. I came up with that excuse for him. I just didn't expect you to believe it so easily. In reality, he went abroad with me to have children. You wouldn't believe how happy he looked holding our child. I didn't read the lengthy text that followed, nor did I have the heart to continue. 3 years into our marriage, all my friends had both a son and a daughter, and I was so envious. I went back and told Daniel I wanted a child, but he said his career was on the rise and having a child now would only be a burden. 2 more years passed. When he finally relented, he tearfully told me he'd been diagnosed with infertility and had already contacted doctors abroad, saying a surgery would cure it. He was gone for 3 years. When he returned, he told me with red eyes that there had been an accident during the surgery, and he would never have children in his life. I still remember what he said that day, tears streaming down his face. Grace, I'm so sorry. I made you wait all these years, and I still couldn't fulfill your dream of being a mother. Looking at his bloodshot eyes, I said tenderly, Daniel, it's okay. As long as you're healthy, living like this for the rest of our lives is perfectly fine. I thought Daniel and I would adopt a child and live out the rest of our lives that way. But to my surprise, Victoria, the one he yearned for, suddenly sent me a DNA test report, with my husband Daniel's name clearly written on it. I thought it was a prank, a trick Victoria used to deceive me, and I didn't pay it much mind several times. I remained convinced that I was the only one in Daniel's heart. It wasn't until I received another group photo from Victoria, seeing the children who looked remarkably like Daniel, that I had no choice but to believe the original test report was real. He truly had children with Victoria behind my back, and they were twins. He even used his health as an excuse to lie to me, just to prevent me from suspecting anything. Thinking of this, my heart was torn with pain. A piercing pain in my palm brought me back to my senses. I immediately blocked and deleted Victoria from my text messages. Shortly after, Alfred came over, holding a gift box. Mrs. Vance, this is Mr. Daniel's birthday gift for you. With that, Alfred opened the gift box directly. Inside was an exquisite bracelet. Its design clearly showed it was custom-made. Hearing his words, my heart skipped a beat. Looking at the expensive bracelet, I suddenly recalled Daniel's promise from years ago, that he would thoughtfully spend every birthday with me. But ever since Victoria appeared, his previous promises had become empty words. Regardless of whether he spent it with me, he always prepared a gift for me every year. However, he had already given me this exact bracelet 3 times before. Including this one, it was the 4th time. Yet, the things he gave Victoria were never the same, and each one seemed more thoughtful than this bracelet. I opened my camera, took a few photos of the bracelet, and casually posted them on an online auction site, setting the starting bid at $10. Alfred, who was standing by, saw me smiling and assumed I was chatting with Daniel. He said with relief, "Seeing you two in such a harmonious marriage puts my mind at ease." I didn't reply. After expressed a couple more concern. He walked away. Just as I was about to go upstairs, my cell phone in my pocket vibrated with an update on my previously submitted divorce petition. The paperwork would be finalized in 3 days. I clutched my cell phone tightly, my eyes darkening. It was time for this marriage full of lies to end. Just as I finished packing the bracelet, Alfred came in holding a package. "Mrs. Vance, this package is a bit damaged, and the delivery person asked for it to be signed for in person. Please check if there's anything wrong inside." I took the package Alfred handed me, feeling suspicious. I hadn't ordered anything recently. Subconsciously, I felt it couldn't be Daniel's, because he never had a habit of ordering packages. I personally purchased all his daily necessities. He wouldn't touch such things. It wasn't until I saw the recipient's name on the shipping label that my shocked expression softened. It was Daniel's package. At's urging, I opened the box. Inside were 2 pairs of children's shoes. Alfred was also somewhat surprised. This must have been delivered to the wrong address. Before could finish speaking, Daniel's call came through. His tone was a bit hurried and laced with nervousness. "Grace, did a package just arrive at the house?" Before he could finish, I already knew what he was going to say. Looking at the children's shoes in the box, I calmly replied, "Just received it. Don't worry, I've already signed for it." He paused, and it was a long moment before he said, "Good. Don't overthink it. It's a gift for a friend's child. He helped me out a lot before, I'm just showing my appreciation." I couldn't help but sneer. He was clearly buying them for Victoria's twin sons, yet he was making up excuses. I couldn't resist snapping back, "That friend of yours, is her name Victoria?" As soon as I said that, Daniel's tone instantly changed. "Grace, what nonsense are you stirring up now? Are you upset that I didn't spend your birthday with you? Didn't I promise you? I'll spend plenty of time with you when I get back from my break. Stop dragging Victoria into everything. How many times do I have to tell you, we're just ordinary friends?" I clenched the gift box in my hand and asked with a smile, "Then why are you calling back in such a hurry? Aren't you just afraid I'll go confront Victoria?" I expected him to erupt in curses, but to my surprise, he only muttered a few words. "You're absolutely unreasonable. I was just worried you'd overthink things if you saw it, but I never thought you'd see me that way." It seems I worried for nothing. I was somewhat surprised. In the past, whenever I mentioned Victoria in front of him, he would explode like ignited gunpowder. But the moment my suspicion arose, I heard a child's tender voice through the phone, and I realized, he hadn't changed, he simply wasn't arguing with me in front of the child. Before I could speak, he hung up the phone, leaving me with a dial tone. He kept telling me he and Victoria were just friends, but then he turned around and had children with her. Were they truly just friends? Just then, Daniel's ragdoll cat suddenly ran over. My eyes darkened, and I immediately wanted to leave, but it was too late. Red spots had already started appearing on my arm. Within moments, what were once a few scattered spots now covered my entire body, incredibly itchy, with signs of swelling. I was allergic to cat dander, but Daniel still insisted on keeping the cat, simply because Victoria had given it to him. I even gave him the silent treatment for a month over it. He remained indifferent, even saying with disdain, "It's just an allergy, isn't it? I can just buy you allergy medicine. Only a cold-blooded person like you would turn away such a cute cat." The swollen area on my body grew larger and larger. I quickly went to look for allergy medicine. But I searched through the medicine cabinet several times, and there was no allergy medicine inside. I felt increasingly unwell, even finding it hard to breathe. My head felt heavier and heavier, and in the next second, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I heard Alfred on the phone with Daniel. Alfred was elderly and used to putting calls on speaker. Daniel's cold voice, mixed with static, rang out, "Can't you just buy her some allergy medicine? You're a longtime member of the Vance staff. Do I need to teach you such things?" Through the crack in the door, I saw that Daniel had already hung up before Alfred could even speak. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. I should have expected this outcome. What was I still hoping for? After entered the room, he looked at me with a sympathetic expression. After a day of observation, the doctor finally discharged me. As soon as I finished the discharge procedures, I received a message from City Hall. After getting my divorce certificate, I took a taxi home. As I approached the main gate, I heard laughter coming from inside. I thought Daniel had returned early. I was planning to give him the divorce certificate and explain everything to him face to face. The next second, I heard Mrs. Eleanor and Aunt's voices from inside. If hadn't been so insistent on marrying her back then, I wouldn't have been able to sway him. I would absolutely never have allowed her to enter the Vance. Anyway, Daniel and Victoria have children now, and Grace is completely useless. When she comes back, we'll make her sign the divorce papers. Aunt immediately chimed in, yes, yes, yes. Children grow up in the blink of an eye. You should properly enjoy the blessing of a house full of grandchildren. I couldn't help but clench my fists. So, his entire family knew Daniel had a pair of twins outside, and I was the only one in the dark, foolishly believing him all these years. I pushed the door open with a cold expression. The two of them turned around, startled. Are you a ghost? Why don't you make any noise when you walk? Mrs. Eleanor gave me an impatient glance, her face darkening. WH. Are you standing there for? Go make some tea. I don't know what you learned in all those etiquette classes over the years. You still look so unpresentable. It's bad luck to even see you. Back then, Mrs. Eleanor despised my humble origins. Although she agreed to my marriage with Daniel, she secretly enrolled me in various etiquette classes, implicitly stating that I wasn't good enough for her son. If I didn't practice diligently, her son taking me out would only bring shame to the Vance. Even though I was extremely unwilling, thinking of Daniel being given a hard time by his mother because of me, I endured everything and did as Mrs. Eleanor wished. Yet, after all these years, she still looked down on me. When I handed them 2 cups of hot tea, Aunt vigorously winked at Mrs. Eleanor. Just as I was about to go upstairs, Mrs. Eleanor directly threw out a divorce agreement. She said coldly, wait a moment. Sign the divorce agreement first. She paused, then added, this is Daniel's wish too. He's too thin-skinned to say it himself, and as his mother, I naturally have to help him. I'm sure you overheard what Aunt and I were saying. I won't hide it from you, Daniel already has children outside. Your marriage is bound to end sooner or later. I looked up at her. Regardless of whose idea it was, I already had the divorce certificate in hand. This marriage was definitely over, so what harm was there in signing another agreement? Thinking this, I signed it quickly. Seeing how decisive I was, both of them were stunned, as if they were dreaming. Can I leave now? I asked, looking at their shocked expressions. Aunt instantly snapped back, saying disdainfully, it's about time you left. You're no longer Mrs. Vance, so why would you linger? Hearing this, Mrs. Eleanor immediately added, Alfred, quickly tell someone to pack her things and have her out of the Vance today. Upon hearing this, Alfred was about to call someone, but I stopped him, no need. I'll pack my own thing. Aunt heard this, her eyes darted, and she scoffed, then someone needs to watch her. Who knows if she'll be honest? If anything goes missing, it'll be the Vance's money that's lost. I ignored her and went straight upstairs to pack a few of my regular clothes. I didn't touch any of the clothes Daniel had given me. Incidentally, I placed the divorce certificate in a gift box and asked Alfred to hand it over to Daniel. After I finished everything, I dragged my luggage and left the Vance. I hadn't taken 2 steps out the main gate when I heard the servants saying they were preparing to bring back the young boys who had been living elsewhere in a couple of days. Only then did I realize that Mrs. Eleanor was so eager for me to divorce because she wanted to welcome Victoria's 2 sons back. The next day, Daniel returned from his break, with Victoria following behind him. He entered and looked around. When he didn't see me, his heart inexplicably pounded. Victoria, who was behind him, looked around the living room and said, Daniel, Fluffball is gone. Could have thrown it away while you were gone? Fluffball was the name of the ragdoll cat. Daniel frowned, recalling my allergy. He wanted to say something but held back. It wasn't until Alfred said the cat had been sent for vaccinations that Daniel's expression softened slightly. Then he asked, Alfred, where's Grace? Before could reply, Mrs. Eleanor said from the staircase, Grace has already left the Vance. Daniel asked, confused, Mom, what do you mean? Mrs. Eleanor had always had strong opinions about me and frequently criticized me, which was common. He was about to say more, but then he saw the gift box in Alfred's hand, and his gaze shifted. Alfred handed the gift box to Daniel. This is what Mrs. Vance asked me to give to you. Daniel saw the familiar gift box, and a flicker of hesitation crossed his eyes. He remembered this box was used when he gave Grace her first gift. He hadn't expected her to keep it for So long. Seeing the unusual look in his eyes, Victoria scoffed, "This box is so old." Grace probably found some broken box somewhere just to be annoying, didn't she? Daniel, you really shouldn't look. What good could be in such a piece of junk? Grace is probably just playing a trick on you. You'll definitely regret opening it. The next second, Daniel opened it in front of everyone. Seeing what was inside, his face instantly darkened. Everyone present looked utterly bewildered. It was a divorce certificate. Victoria was the first to react, her tone scornful. "Daniel, what's Grace doing bringing a fake certificate? Does she think you wouldn't dare actually divorce her?" Daniel said nothing. He pulled out his cell phone and dialed a number, but after several calls, there was no answer. He skeptically picked up the divorce certificate and flipped through it, not believing I would actually divorce him. It wasn't until he opened the document and saw the embossed date that his hanging heart plummeted. He suddenly remembered that day. He was with Victoria for her birthday and had casually used overtime as an excuse to reject my invitation. Originally, I had planned to confess and discuss the divorce with him face to face, but he didn't give me the chance, instead scolding me for not being considerate. So, I had no choice but to file for divorce. Mrs. Eleanor glanced at Daniel's grim expression, looking quite pleased. "It seems I wasn't the one forcing her to divorce. She intended to divorce you all along. At least she has some self-awareness, so all those etiquette classes I enrolled her in weren't a waste." After speaking, she handed him the signed divorce agreement. Daniel looked at it and became furious. "Mom, when did I say I wanted to divorce her?" Victoria, standing nearby, couldn't hide the joy on her face. But seeing Daniel's anger, she composed herself and tried to mediate. "Mrs. Eleanor, I know you mean well for the children, but Daniel has his own plans. Yes. Who'd interfere?" Hearing this, Mrs. Eleanor's expression instantly changed. "I don't care. I need to see my 2 grandsons every day. Do you want your sons to be called illegitimate children? If you don't think for yourself, you should at least think for the children. Anyway, I never agreed to you marrying her in the first place. Now that you're divorced, it's perfect. Daniel, you played around with her for so many years, it's time to settle down. Wouldn't it be better for a family of 4 to live happily together?" Daniel was speechless. Mrs. Eleanor thought he had taken her words to heart, but to her surprise, he immediately turned and sent his bodyguards to search for me. Seeing this, Mrs. Eleanor was furious. "Daniel, if you insist on bringing her back, then don't consider me your mother." With that, Mrs. Eleanor walked straight out. After a few steps, she seemed to remember something and turned around. "Even if you send people to find her, she won't come back with you. I already told her that you secretly had children with someone else. If she has any conscience at all, she absolutely won't come back with you." After saying that, Mrs. Eleanor walked out without looking back. Hearing this, Daniel's face instantly changed. He felt unsteady, almost collapsing onto the floor. Victoria helped him up in time. Watching Eleanor's retreating figure, she comforted him. "Daniel, Mrs. Eleanor means well for you. Don't let her efforts be in vain." Hearing this, his expression stiffened. He then looked at Victoria beside him and coldly asked, "Did you say something to my mom?" A flicker of panic immediately crossed Victoria's eyes, and she quickly denied, "I didn't say anything to Mrs. Eleanor." Daniel nodded at this, then pulled out his cell phone and opened text messages to send me a message. "Grace, I know you're sulking. You never intended to divorce. As long as you come back voluntarily, I won't hold anything against you. Also, I know you can't accept the Victoria situation all at once, but I believe you'll understand me once you hear my explanation. I'm at home now. Please come back quickly once you see this message. I'll wait for you at home." After sending the messages, he was still uneasy, so he had Alfred send people out to inquire about me. Victoria was displeased with Daniel's behavior, so she brought up the children to divert his attention. "Daniel, let's go pick up the children together. They'll definitely be very happy to see you." But didn't pay any mind to her words, saying absent-mindedly, "You go alone. Be careful on your way." Victoria wanted to say more, but she detected Daniel's impatience and gave up. After left, he meticulously flipped through the divorce certificate again. He had previously agreed to have children with Victoria because she had been diagnosed with a heart condition, and the doctors said she didn't have long to live. Her only wish was to have a child with him. When he saw Victoria covered in tubes, his hesitant heart immediately softened, and he readily agreed to have a child with her, on the condition that she wouldn't announce it publicly, especially not to me. He just didn't expect Victoria to immediately boast to me that she had given birth to Daniel's twin children. He frowned, constantly refreshing the chat page, But the messages he sent were like stones sinking into the ocean, with no reply. 2 or 3 days passed, but the people he sent out didn't bring back any useful news. Looking at the neatly arranged clothes in the walk-in closet, all of which he had given me, I hadn't taken a single piece when I left. Only then did he gradually believe that I had truly divorced him, and it wasn't out of sulking or a joke. Victoria came over, holding the children, trying to tie Daniel's heart to them. "Daniel, the children are hungry. Can you take them to get something to eat?" But he didn't even glance at them, leaving Victoria dumbfounded. Unable to believe he could be so cold, she spoke again. "Daniel, the children are hungry. Can you take them to get something to eat?" Daniel frowned, his tone impatient. "If the children are hungry, go find the nanny. You're a grown woman. Do I need to teach you such things?" Victoria was startled, then said tearfully, "Daniel, they just miss you and want to be close to you." Before could speak, Alfred came over with a pile of children's items. "Mr. Daniel, how should the boys' room be arranged?" He froze. Victoria, seeing his confused expression, reminded him, "Daniel, didn't you already promise to bring the children back to the Vance after your break?" Hearing this, he remembered such a thing and told Alfred, "You can take them and arrange it." Victoria wanted to say more, but seeing Daniel's tightly furrowed brows, she ultimately said nothing and left with the children. A moment later, Daniel received a call. "Okay, I'm on my way now." After hanging up, he went back to his room, grabbed his jacket, and headed out. Unexpectedly, as he reached the staircase, he ran into Victoria, who was emphatically pointing at the room I used to live in, saying, "This room is perfect. Move their things in here." Alfred hesitated for a moment, then came up with an excuse. "Ms. Victoria, this room is currently undergoing renovations, so it might not be suitable," but insisted on that particular room, her tone cold. "Don't forget, Grace is no longer Mrs. Vance. I am Mrs. Vance." Alfred was about to say something when he looked up and saw the person behind Victoria. "Mr. Daniel, Ms. Victoria." Before he could finish, Daniel interrupted, "Victoria, the other rooms are no worse than this one. Alfred, take her to see the other rooms." Alfred nodded, gesturing for Victoria to follow him. To his surprise, Victoria quickly pivoted the conversation to the children. She pretended to hesitate for a moment, then said, "Daniel, it's not that I absolutely must have this room. It's truly for the children's sake. This room is closer to you, making it convenient for you to see them." Seeing say nothing, Victoria directly told Alfred to put the things inside the room. Just as Daniel was about to say something, his cell phone in his pocket rang again. He hastily answered the call and left, leaving Victoria and the others behind. When he arrived at the location the bodyguard mentioned, the person he was looking for was already gone. He cursed angrily, "Didn't you say Grace was here?" The bodyguard, sweating, replied, "Mr. Daniel, Mrs. Vance took the earliest flight. We only have flight information up to this point." The words had barely left his mouth when Daniel immediately slapped him. "What are you standing there for? Go investigate. A bunch of useless idiots." After the bodyguard left, he looked at the vast airport, and tears immediately welled up in his eyes. He leaned against the car and smoked several cigarettes. He didn't know how long passed until the cigarette pack was empty, and only then did he stop. He floored the accelerator, and the car drove to Central Park, where I used to frequent. He sat on a swing in the park, swaying back and forth sporadically. His mind suddenly recalled years ago, when he used to pester me every day to go for a walk with him, actually just wanting me to push him on the swings. Back then, I naively thought such days would last forever. But after Victoria returned, it all shattered like a dream. Daniel subconsciously said to the person behind him, "Grace, I want to swing higher." But when he turned around, there was nothing behind him, only a gust of autumn wind. Just then, his cell phone suddenly rang with a familiar tone. He frantically pulled it out, but seeing the caller ID on the screen, his joyous expression instantly vanished. It was a call from Victoria. "Daniel, the children have a fever and keep asking for you. Please come back quickly." As soon as Daniel heard Victoria's voice, he felt an uncontrollable irritation. His tone was impatient. "Don't we have a family doctor? Why are you calling me instead of taking the children to see a doctor? I'm very busy right now." He paused, realizing he had spoken too harshly, and added as an afterthought, "Take the children to the hospital first. I'll come back when I'm done." After speaking, he simply hung up the phone. He immediately forgot about the matter entirely and went to a bar alone to drink his sorrows away. "Mr. Daniel, you haven't been here in a long time. Where's Grace? Didn't she come with you?" asked Sam, a friend I used to work with, as he handed him a drink. Daniel said nothing, lifted the glass, and downed the drink in one gulp. Sam asked a few more questions, but Daniel still didn't reply, so he reluctantly gave up and walked away. Daniel and I first met at this very bar. It was quite dramatic, actually. I was working a part-time job then and happened to see him being forced to drink by a group of trust fund kids. Noticing his pale face, I kindly helped him out. Unexpectedly, after that day, our relationship progressed rapidly, and we were married within 2 years. He ordered another round of drinks and drank alone, muttering to himself, "Grace, so I didn't spend your birthday with you? Is that really why you're divorcing me? How can you be so petty? I already apologized to you, and you still won't come back to me, Grace." Before he finished speaking, the same people who had troubled Daniel earlier reappeared in front of him, taunting him, "Isn't that Daniel? Didn't he marry some female bartender? Yeah, it's truly shameful for us rich kids. A perfectly good trust fund kid had to go for somebody beneath him. Standing next to him makes me sick." As he spoke, a wave of sneering laughter spread around. Daniel's hand, clutching the glass, turned white. Before he could speak, the next second, a stream of alcohol poured over his head, and a voice rang in his ear, "Let's see who dares to stick up for you this time." Seeing that he wasn't resisting, as if waiting for someone, their eyes filled with even more disdain. They directly had someone next to them grab him and force-feed him drinks. Daniel's face was cold, his brows furrowed. Moments later, bodyguards from outside burst in and quickly subdued the men. He stood up, tapped a bottle of hard liquor for each of them, and told them to chug it down if they wanted to leave. They were all out on their own, with no bodyguards. After glaring at Daniel, they all drank the liquor in front of them. Soon after, Daniel spoke coldly, "Get out." He toyed with 2 dice in his hand, but his mind was on Grace. He mumbled on and on for a long time until dawn, but the person from his memories never appeared. The next day, as he woke up and reached the staircase, he heard Victoria scolding a servant, "Who are you cursing? Who's short-lived?" The servant looked terrified and hurriedly explained, "Mr. Daniel said you have a heart condition, and the things you asked for are restricted." "You can't eat them," Victoria yelled, "I'll eat what I want. Where did you get all this nonsense? What's your place to try and control me?" With that, she angrily raised her hand and slapped the servant twice. Seeing this, a thought immediately sparked in Daniel's mind, and he recalled Victoria's strange behavior lately. He immediately called Victoria's attending physician from that year. According to the scans, Victoria has no heart condition at all. Her heart is beating very healthily and vigorously. Only then did he realize that Victoria had been deceiving him with a fake medical report all these years, even tricking him into having children with her. Daniel, his face cold, hung up the phone and walked downstairs. He found Victoria eating breakfast, with the table full of various breakfast items. Seeing the food on the table that was most restricted for heart patients, his gaze remained fixed. Victoria followed his gaze to the same pastry, then felt awkward. She hurriedly picked it up and explained, "Daniel, don't be angry. Perhaps the servant was careless and brought it up by mistake. I'll take it away now." She then called a servant over to clear the items. But she forgot, half of it was still uneaten in her bowl. Seeing this, Daniel's face darkened with displeasure. He immediately slapped her twice. The sharp sounds echoed in the living room. Victoria covered her face, looking utterly wronged. "Daniel, what are you doing?" Daniel stopped the servant, took the items from their hand, and personally poured them into Victoria's bowl. He said coldly, "Since you have no dietary restrictions, eat more. You've been putting on an act for so long, you deserve a reward." Hearing this, Victoria's face turned pale. Unconcealable panic flashed in her eyes, and she frantically explained, "Daniel, you know everything? Listen to me explain. I was deceived too. I only found out later that it was a misdiagnosis. I didn't intend to hide it from you. I was planning to tell you these past couple of days." Daniel clenched his fists, suppressing his anger. After a few deep breaths, he pointed to the door. "Victoria, stop wasting words. Get out now." She suddenly remembered something and said anxiously, "Daniel, I didn't intentionally hide it from you. I was forced to. I couldn't bear to see you with Grace. Just thinking about it made me want to die. I was thinking of our children too, Daniel. You understand me, don't you?" Daniel looked at her with cold eyes and roared, "You have the nerve to mention the children? You know how these children came about. If you hadn't begged me back then, why would I have had children with you? If it weren't for the children, why would Grace have divorced me?" The words had barely left his mouth when Alfred rushed over. He said in a panicked tone, "Mr. Daniel, your mother has food poisoning and has been rushed to the emergency room. You must go quickly." Daniel was utterly shocked upon hearing this, completely failing to notice that Victoria had already run upstairs. When he recovered, he had no time to worry about Victoria. He quickly took the car keys Alfred handed him, floored the accelerator, and rushed to the hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital, Daniel happened to run into the attending physician coming out. He anxiously asked, "How's my mom? Why did she get poisoned?" The doctor, "She's temporarily out of danger, but her condition is very unstable, with a risk of recurrence at any time. Preliminary diagnosis indicates the toxin source was the exotic health tonic." He immediately recalled that a few days earlier, Victoria had brought back 2 boxes of the exotic health tonic and had personally simmered it for an entire afternoon. He immediately told a bodyguard nearby, "Go pick up Victoria. Don't reveal any information to her." Soon after, the bodyguard sent back news, "Mr. Daniel, Ms. Victoria is not at the Vance." Daniel frowned, a wave of unease instantly clouding his expression. He said coldly, "Quickly send people to search for her. No matter where she is, she must be brought back." Soon after, Victoria appeared beside Daniel, her face covered in bruises. Her complexion immediately shifted, and with her bruised face, she looked like a pallet. "Daniel, it wasn't me. This time, it really wasn't me." Before could speak, she eagerly tried to clear her name. It was hard not to suspect her. Daniel's face indeed darkened. "Victoria, did you really poison my mom?" Seeing his grim expression, Victoria immediately panicked. She had never seen him like this before. She struggled to explain, "It wasn't me. I didn't mean to harm Mrs. Eleanor. She just accidentally ingested it. I wanted to kill Alfred, that old man. He's always going against me." Victoria couldn't stand Alfred because ever since she moved into the Vance, Alfred would put away anything that so much as touched my belongings, preventing Victoria from touching them. She resented Alfred for this. She never expected, however, that the exotic health tonic she had meticulously prepared would be accidentally consumed by Mrs. Eleanor. The moment she heard Mrs. Eleanor had been poisoned and taken to the hospital, Victoria was ready to flee. But just a few steps into the airport, she was brought back by bodyguards. Before she could finish her sentence, Daniel slapped her twice more. What she didn't know was that Daniel had lost his father at a young age, and most of what he felt as paternal love came from Alfred. In his heart, he had long considered Alfred as a surrogate father. At that moment, he no longer believed a single word she said, and turned to instruct his bodyguards, "Throw her into the sea to feed the fish." Only then did Victoria completely panic. She knelt at his feet, pleading, "Daniel, I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance, okay? I promise there won't be a second time. Even if you don't do it for my sake, consider our sons. They can't grow up without a father." Just then, the lights in Mrs. Eleanor's emergency room suddenly went out. A moment later, the doctor emerged, a look of regret on his face. "Please accept my deepest sympathies to the family." Seeing this, Victoria's pleas for mercy suddenly caught in her throat. Daniel rushed inside, his expression one of utter heartbreak. The bodyguards immediately dragged Victoria away. "I heard about Mrs. Eleanor from a friend, and I also learned about Victoria's fate. Out of obligation, I attended Mrs. Eleanor's funeral. When I saw Daniel, he had lost a significant amount of weight. Even with makeup, the dark circles under his eyes were still noticeable. I placed Mrs. Eleanor's favorite bouquet of flowers in front of her gravestone, then turned to Daniel and softly said, 'My condolences.' He looked at me through tear-filled eyes. 'Grace, where have you been all this time? Why couldn't I find you?' My heart sank, but I said calmly, 'Why were you looking for me? I've been traveling lately.' He was silent for a moment, and after a while, he said, 'Can you forgive me? Grace, I have nothing left. I want to remarry. I know I made a mistake. Will you give me a chance to make amends?' Watching his tears fall, I averted my gaze. 'You still have a pair of twin sons.' Before I could finish, he quickly interrupted, 'I've already sent the children to an orphanage. Let's start over, as if none of this ever happened.' I shook my head, refusing. Just as I was about to leave, he grabbed my arm, saying with anguish, 'Grace, I was deceived too. I didn't mean to lie to you. I'm sorry, can you forgive me? The children aren't even mine. Victoria lied to me.' I stared at him in shock. I truly hadn't expected such an outcome. I thought that after my divorce from him, it would complete his relationship with Victoria, and they could live happily as a family. I never imagined the children weren't his. Seeing my hesitation, he thought I was wavering in my resolve to forgive him. He took my hand, and a smile suddenly appeared on his desolate face. 'Grace, I knew you wouldn't abandon me. He immediately pulled out his cell phone, ready to book an appointment at City Hall. I broke free from his grasp, took a deep breath, and said, "Daniel, I'm going to say this again, I will not remarry you." Upon hearing this, the smile on his face froze instantly, and he struggled in disbelief. "Grace, why? Is it because I lied to you?" I looked at the sadness in his eyes. I nodded, then shook my head. It wasn't entirely because he lied to me. It was because I couldn't stand that he could have told me about him and Victoria, and I would have let them be together, but he deliberately chose to hide it from me. I wanted nothing more to do with Daniel, who always wanted to have his cake and eat it too. I said coldly, "Daniel, let's not have any contact anymore." Seeing how resolute I was, the words he was about to say caught in his throat. At that moment, other mourners quickly surrounded Daniel, advising him to accept his loss and move on. Seeing this, I took the opportunity to leave. I then boarded a flight to my next destination. Watching the scenery pass outside the window, I silently recited, "Let the past be the past. None of us should live in what was." Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.